Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fourth installment of the VCast. I am your host, SPDXYZ, or just SP if you want to keep it short and simple, like most things should be in life. So today, Micah isn't here, unfortunately. Big sad, I know. So it's just me and a special guest. If you hear any knocking or noises, it's my bad. They're renovating our house right now, so unfortunately, that's that. Also, I'm also got some Jack in the Box and their mini tacos because not sponsored, but they're pretty bussin'. Not gonna lie, they're pretty bussin'. But today is gonna be a special stream. It won't be too long, but it is based on one topic. So you might see another stream coming out maybe later this week or later tonight. It depends because Mike and I do want to go over something we found online as well as the reveals from V-Clan selection. So we'll get to that in a minute. So let's go ahead and jump into the call. Our special guest is Noto. So, but I can't podcast if you didn't notice. So, our special guest, he is a top 8 in the recent Springfest Regional. He's one of the best players I know currently. He knows the game like the back of his hand, and he is literally the one that changed my mind on this subject because basically we're talking about the Overtrigger, and he changed my mind on it pretty decisively. So we're just gonna go over a recent Facebook post that we saw online. So let me just text him that he's gonna be on in a minute. So yeah, this is our new special guest, Noto.
So, what exactly do you want me to say?
I mean, you're fine. I just the intro, just introduced you and everything. So, yeah. So this is my new friend I met on Discord. His name is Noto. He is a very, very, very skilled card fighter and a even nicer Brit. Obviously, as you can see, he loves. If I can get the thing going, hold on. It's not even in game yet. As you can see, he's a fan of Astolfo, so he has great taste.
Yeah, best boy.
Oh yeah.
Anyone who likes Astolfo's opinion is automatically correct.
Oh yeah.
Basically, it doesn't matter what it's doing. Doesn't matter. If you like Astolfo, you're always correct. So I'm Noto. I play Vanguard a little bit. I'm
a
mainly
little
a premium
bit.
player. Yeah.
Oh no,
I
top
play
8 in Springfest. Don't sound like a little bit.
Yeah, only a little bit. I mean, I misplayed. We're not going to talk about the top 8. I misplayed. I threw a game. But I play premium mainly. I'm kind of VI is really the main clan, but I mainly play all of Dark States as well as Grand Blue because Grand Blue's a good clan. And today we're talking about Overtriggers. Because there was a post on Vanguardians that has reignited this dead topic, and so I've got some opinions about them. And I want to start this by saying, if you like Overtriggers, this is fine. You can like something. I'm not criticizing anybody that enjoys Overtriggers. If you think they're fun, if you think they look cool, that's cool. That's fine. That's all on you. That's a subjective thing.
I'm guilty.
We're talking. Yeah, you're guilty. I think the Overtriggers look amazing, right?
Yeah.
That the Dark States Overtrigger looks amazing. However, that shouldn't be when we talk about game mechanics and what they bring to the game, looks and how fun they are shouldn't really be brought up as the main points of defending or accusing. You need to look at how they impact the game at the competitive level, and this is what this conversation is. At the competitive level, are Overtriggers good or bad for the game? And spoilers, they are bad for the game. Everybody this has been said a lot of times, but I do feel I need to say, don't attack people for their opinions. No matter what the side is, if you like Overtriggers, don't attack people that are saying that they're bad for the game. If you dislike Overtriggers, don't attack people that like them. Don't attack people. Don't be dicks, people.
Well, yeah, obviously, if you're in a card community, right, you shouldn't be a dick. That's like rule number one. You know, if you're in a card game community, don't be a dick. And if you win a few championships, you know, it's cool. You know, don't be elitist. You know,
don't be elitist.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't be anti-competitive as well, because that is also happening. This people are confusing people that talk about the game competitively with people that have overinflated egos, and so the very common thread argument that I see is, oh, you're just mad that you lost, and that's just a deflection. That's not an argument. And that's not a healthy discourse.
So
but anyway, let's go in.
Yeah. So basically, what it's honestly right. This podcast is going to be about something completely different. I saw like the recent like survey stuff for card shops, and it's going to be about. But when I saw this post, I'm like, I gotta talk about this because the recent post is by Tyler Smith. You know, I can say his name because he put his name out in public. I'm not doxing him. But Tyler Smith, right, says that Vanguard players, when they learn that the Overtrigger is an RNG mechanic in an RNG game, and that there are ways to play around it or mitigate its impact in the game, and it shows like the meme of Merrick saying, "Ugh, my head, I'm doing it, I'm thinking," which it's kind of it's a funny meme. Because it's from the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, but it's kind of also a little bit disingenuous because like you're basically implying now that people who are complaining about the Overtriggers aren't thinking, which that's not the case at all. You know, so a few of the comments, right, because I read through a few of them, well, before it was 66 comments. If it'll load for me, there we go. So it says some of them were laughing at it, like, ambition my way retro if it's funny. Vanguard players refuse to use their mega thread cause think it's funny. Just seeing the meme, yeah. So it's a funny meme, right? Sorry, my computer
he's not memeing. He's genuinely arguing for it.
Yeah. So if you go down to one of these comments, right? I think it was Andrew Manti.
Yes.
Right. It says just playing around at brain dead card players. That excuse can be used to defend every broken card in the existence of every trading card game from Magic to Flesh and Blood. Get new material. So Tyler Smith responds saying, "Don't play around crit triggers." And then Eddie says, "Play around it by winning the game." And then he says, "I guess. What's your point?" And then he.
I think rather than just reading every single comment, we should just kind of look at we should just kind of summarize Tyler Smith's main. Sorry, not Tyler Smith's. Andrew. Tyler and Andrew's points.
No, I'm a card player. I ain't reading this freaking text.
Don't worry. When you were introducing everybody, I was reading it, so I got a general gist.
Okay.
So his main. So first, I want to address what Andrew said. Just play around it. Brain dead card players. Obviously, he's quoting. He's saying, listen, don't just play around it isn't an argument. But what I dislike is him saying brain dead card players. Don't go insulting people. It makes your point look less valid. You look way too involved into the subject, and people are just going to write you off as mad. So, however, I do like his point. Just play around it is not an excuse. If a card is badly designed or a mechanic is badly designed, playing around it is not an argument. Look at Gastiel Daimonis, look at Jamio Congo, look at all these things. To some degree, you could play around it, but they're terribly designed cards. I don't think Jamio needs to be hit right now, but it's a different thing. So Tyler's main argument. Now going on to Tyler's points. He believes overtriggers aren't OP because people play around crit triggers, and that they're a glorified number. He would say because they're a one-off, they don't come up that much. Which no, if you I've seen the odds. Proof Chord did extensive testing on this. They found they came up with around 40% of games, and whether or not those 40% of games they came up in a situation that impacted the games doesn't matter. 40% of the games in a tournament is huge. That will greatly skew the results. We saw it in BSFO. We saw it in BSFO Premium with Solemn. Although Solemn Vanguard did the correct thing, sent his Overtrigger back to deck. Well, made his opponent send his Overtrigger back to deck. It was the correct play. It's still a game situation where he won for no reason. You look at the quarterfinals with Mo and the Dark Regular player. Mo hitting the defensive Overtrigger killed the turn. And in a game, in a format where it's OTK or be OTK'd, which is already unhealthy, you're making it even worse because you've set yourself up into that situation, and now one trigger killed a one-off killed your entire turn that you cannot play around. You cannot play around those situations. You've just got to hope they don't hit the Overtrigger. And at the highest level, that will come up often. There's usually a game of Vanguard usually has one turn that will decide how the game goes. Assuming both players are equally skilled, they're both playing well designed, well made decks. There's usually one turn that decides the game. And Overtriggers stop that turn from happening, and so therefore they are anti-competitive in that sense. So you can't play around. You can't play around in that case. It's also a turn skip hit defensively. Solemn Vanguard made an excellent point. When both players hit grade 3, tell your opponent, hey, can I draw 2 cards but you get 2 extra turns? That see how many times you win after giving your opponent 2 turns in a row for no reason, for just drawing 2 cards. It's not an argument. You'll lose 9 times out of 10. It's so again, defensively they're a huge problem. I'm not really going to get into their effects. I think their effects are fine. Like restanding Vanguard short, like there are niche combos, mainly regarding Ultima, because being able to stack it, but those are way too slow in Premium to even consider right now. Like outside of just being sacked, there's the Ezel Infinite Loop, there's newer Dio drive checking and Overtrigger and winning. But at that point they were already winning, so the individual effects are fine. If the biggest offender is the power, the 100 million power. If they were regular triggers, wouldn't be having this issue. A one-off regular trigger, they're a glorified heal, which they're a 5th heal, as well as a draw, so they're already a very good comeback mechanic, because you're not only healing, or well, not taking a damage in this case, you're also getting an extra card, and in terms of which is pretty good.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah. So basically, right. I agree with. Well, before I had a talk with you about this, I agree with 50% what you said, because what the discussion stemmed from which was worse, imaginary gifts or Overtriggered. And I said imaginary gifts were worse for the sole fact that the amount of card effects and amount of decks that just abuse the imaginary gift made it worse, to where it's especially like decks like Bermuda Triangle and Gold Paladin and any of them that can just spam gift markers. It made them like tier 1 and not tier 0 like that. But what you said, right, that really shut down my argument, saying you got a point, you're saying that is you said that you can prepare for imaginary gift, you can't prepare for an Overtrigger. You just can't. I remember there in the times I'm playing Overdress, right, not even counting Premium, there have been games where I've had where they are ready to destroy me. I'm okay, cool. I think I just died this turn because I'm facing like Bastion or Bruce. The first swing, I check Overtrigger the death to pass turn. Because at that point, there's no point in even swinging. Like, you're like, okay, fine, I'll swing Vanguard and get my 2 cards and pass, you know? So, it just in that sense, it's just not fair. And the argument of saying, oh, just PG it, just PG it. Okay, so if they check the Overtrigger, right? PG Vanguard, right? It's called rear guards for a reason. Like, they can just give it to a rear guard. Want PG that too? Like, you can't rely on the Overtrigger all the time. On the PG all the time. It's just not physically possible.
I think something as well is, remember Zazan?
Oh,
remember that clusterfuck?
Oh God.
Remember that clusterfuck? Zaza OTT Calico, just PG it. It wasn't a problem, just PG it. Yeah, PG it's not an argument. Just PG it. Just PG the Calico. You're not being blocked from using Sentinels unless they've erode their silent arm. So just PG the 4 crit attack. It's not just PG is not an argument. You don't always have PGs, and even if you're being forced into that situation, it's still overwhelming advantage. Yeah. Again, we're not going to go into the effects. We're not going to, the restanding Vanguard, the crit plus 10 and the crit for the rest of the game, or the plus 10 to everything. Those effects redundant in a situation. The fact that you can win a game for no reason it makes this game less competitive.
Go ahead.
And so this brings up the next point. Well, it's an RNG game. Double, triple crits existing.
Exactly, that's what I was to talk about, yeah.
Sure, that's fine. You can get double, triple crit. However, you can guard a double, triple crit. If your opponent has 4 crits in deck and 10 cards in deck, you're probably going to have to expect 1 or 2 crits showing up. If your opponent has 10 cards in deck and Overtrigger is still not seen, a competitive player will not PG a attack they don't have to PG because it should not come up. It's in a matter of playing optimally means you go for the most likely outcome. You can be and sure you can get punished for that. You can get punished in any situation, but you will never be. But the Overtrigger, unless obviously you know it's being stacked, then it's a different argument. But yeah. And since it's a random effect, you shouldn't or in the situations where you can't, obviously. If you can, sure, but like you can't always play around it. And so that's the sort of thing. You can hard guard a triple crit. If it's logical to expect a triple crit, you could just hard guard it easily. And it's guardable. You can never hard guard an Overtrigger. There is no deck in this game that can hard guard an Overtrigger. It will always be PG or take 1 to 2 damage, which is not, good card design. This stemmed in premium is a little bit worse because lots of decks have a guard restriction, a card with a guard restrict. Look at.
I think there's a Monster Strike deck that said you can't call Sentinels for something.
Yeah. So there's Bermuda Triangle, not Bermuda, sorry, Lyrical. Lyrical has it. That with those, sure, it's a combination, but it's an RNG combination. It turns to rather than PG or take damage, it's gonna be take damage. You look at BSFO, Derek Dow, although he's a very talented player. There were games, we saw it on stream, that he just called his dragon, hit OT, 1 game for no reason. Sure, he's a good player. He got rewarded. He played to his Overtrigger. However, he still won for no reason.
Yeah.
And so I think we're gonna leave it ends games for no reason because I feel we've done that to death. The next I think the next one is and Andrew also said this: perfect cards don't help you play around a defensive OT. Yeah, defensively they kill your turn. We've been through that. Yeah, What's the next point? Comparing them to gifts and Overtriggered, right? Gifts were a terrible mechanic. Again, you can love them, you can hate them, doesn't matter. It's free continuous advantage, but at least you knew they were coming. Your opponent flips the starter, okay, they're a force con, they're going to get a 10k, or they're going to get a crit. Yeah, you know it's going to happen. You can play around that. They got out of hand with Luard, with Gurgit, with what other decks that were broken because they spammed markers.
I mean, to be honest, with the new clan selection set, right, they're making more decks that can spam gift markers. But Die Kaiser. But
I would argue that's not a marker fault. That's a card design fault. That's the individual support. That's not the marker creating those issues.
Yeah.
Sure, the markers are problematic, but it's, if Bushiroad just didn't make ways for players to continuously spam markers, Luard, I think, is one of the second worst defender, only second to full power Gurgit.
Yeah. Full power Gurgit was an issue. Luard gets markers out the ass. I'm sure. I think also, Vanquisher is like a more toned down Gurgit if you think about it.
I think, and marker generation is fine, but they did it in a format where advantage wasn't as amazing. It was mainly a go first kill format. They did it they did it for next to no cost, or they made it so it was the entire it didn't just make a marker, it also plussed an advantage. Percival, discard one, call that great that's called, I can't remember. It made advantage from there as well. It's not a they made it. They didn't make it the prime thing. I think the best example of marker spam done right up until recently is Astral Poets. Their entire shtick was put markers in one place and then
just
get something from it.
Yeah, it wasn't all over the board power gain. But there was one thing that they said in the thread that I want to touch on, and it was basically it said, I think it was Art has said, but it's still different if you count 50 triggers in public knowledge. So I think the argument was that you can just if you know the overtrigger is coming, right, prepare right then and there. Like, oh shoot, he might get the overtrigger, so I'm gonna prepare right then and here. I'll have PG in hand, and to me, right, I'm like, that's not physically possible, like. All the arguments that we've heard just say, oh, have PG for it, play around it, and if you don't play around it, then you're just bad. Like those are just the most bland, broad statements I've heard about the overtrigger. I think we all know, right? And I think my friend Brian also commented on this. He had a great. We'll get to that in a second, but I think you all know that. The overtrigger in itself, like on paper, it seems really cool. Oh, 100 million power on one card. If you check it, like if you think about it, right, I honestly think the overtrigger is just a marketing strategy. like how the imaginary gift was just a marketing strategy. Was like, okay, we have if it wasn't enough that we have this new cray and new nations and new cards and new this and new that, you had to. It's not enough. No, we need a card that could change the tide in the game instantly. And they're like, okay, what would that be? Oh, we have triggers. Okay, what trigger do we do? I got it. The overtrigger. It's gonna be one in the deck and gives you 100 million power or something completely insane. Like, honestly, I think that's probably the old R&D team's last fuck you to the face. Like, yeah, here's this overtrigger. Have fun with that. So to be honest, right, if the overtrigger is let's say for example, right, let's say I first started playing Vanguard. I'm a new player, clean slate. It's my first day playing Vanguard, and I got the Bruce start deck, right? Also the best starter to get, to be honest. I got the Bruce start deck, and I took on one of my friends in the match, right? I was like, okay, cool, great. I'm gonna take you on a card fight. We go back and forth. I get to final rush, my 5 damage because I decided not to block anything because you know, Bruce Startup ain't the best, but it's one of the best ones that they have. I then check the Overtrigger. I'm like, wait, what? Overtrigger? That's so cool. I can give 100 million power to 2 of my units. That's great. You know, that's awesome. Alright, so to a new player, that's awesome, but to like a veteran, like, or to like someone who's played the game for like ever, like me and Noto, right? If I check it, I'm gonna be like, alright, 100 million power here and here. And the opponent's gonna be like, well, I guess I lose now, especially when you reset with Bruce and you just had a great game. Like,
Yeah, like
it's just not fun. To a new bright-eyed Bushido player, it could be great, but to someone who's been playing the game forever, it's just not fun at all.
And sure, like most of this argument is anecdotal evidence. So, you know, if you defend Overtriggers in a competitive aspect, you could just bring up other anecdotal evidence. But the chances of an Overtrigger matter, the impact that an Overtrigger has compared to when it goes off is much bigger than any impact of a double or triple crit. I think Brian says it. Yeah, Brian says it perfectly. If you're at 5 damage, you need 2 PGs, assuming you can even PG in the first place. But that 100 mil attack, just have half the amount of PGs is not an argument. And then the other argument is, just don't be at 5 damage. That's the same argument as pre-errata dust. Just don't be at 5 damage, forehead. It's okay. Like, if you're not at 5, you're going to be at 5 damage at some point. That's how the game goes. You can be winning tremendously, but still be at 5 damage. That's not how you know, to a certain extent, damage does not matter past until you're at 6. Obviously.
Also, sorry to cut you off, but also you guys have to understand that there are a few cards that have like limit break but not limit break abilities that require to be at, for like Spectral Duke needs you to be at 4 more damage to proc its ability. So
damage is a key part of this game. So of course you're going to have damage. You need damage to play this game. Okay, some need less than others, but as a general rule of thumb, they need damage. You can get. Now I will say, Overtriggers, in a very fucked up sense, help premium because it does stop. They do stop the OTKs, except Fenrir, but we don't talk about Fenrir. Like, if you hit a defensive OT, you kill Nuadaya, and sure, that's nice, but then the thing with that is that waters down the results. Looking at how Bushiroad have banned stuff in the past, we don't know if the new team are going to change that, but going off the information we currently have, in the past, Bushiroad looked at representation and conversion for their main issues of banning. It's why Dark Irregulars were never hit in Premium when they were in the big 3, because nobody played the deck. However, Neonectar and Ezel were, because everybody played them. And so, but what happens is, lots of people take Nuadaya, right? Or Blade Master, or Valkyrian, or DI, right? They take these decks in Premium, the problematic decks, because and there's the representation. However, because more people are taking those decks, those are the players that are going to get defensive OT'd on. Because because more people playing, they run into each other. That if things are going to go wrong, they go wrong to for the majority in this situation.
Also, right.
And so,
sorry, real quick. Also, I fought against I played against Valkyrion, right? The loop restand. That was I think that was like the last premium game I played before I started playing premium. He swung at me. I checked the Overtrigger, right? And he didn't stop. He just kept swinging because he knew that in one of those checks, and those stand trigger checks with Taro, he was also gonna see the Overtrigger and just slap it on Valkyrion, so it didn't matter.
On Valkyrion doesn't matter. Yeah. But because because these these toxic decks that do need to be hit. There is no argument that these decks don't need to be hit. It's just an argument of how they should be hit. Because these decks are going to die to overtriggers, their conversion is going to be a lot worse, and there is a very good chance Bushiroad aren't going to see them as a problem. And that is not good that's not healthy for the game. And that is a fault of overtriggers. Overtriggers stopping these problematic decks from being problematic is how these problematic decks keep on living.
Yeah.
And Premium's already on its last threads because of no ban list, because of this toxic meta. I don't think it's unplayable, like some Doomers have said, and I think constantly complaining about no ban list, although I think you should be vocal about that there is no ban list, constantly complaining is how you kill a format.
So
there are Doomers.
I don't hate Premium, contrary to what I say in passing. I don't hate actually. Yeah. I really like Premium. Like I'll play a Premium game from time to time. It's just that because I there's no Premium format where I'm at. I live in Texas. There's no Premium format where I'm at. So I probably just have to turn to remote fight. And probably I'll fight in Premium, right? And it's just really annoying when I fight in Premium and I'm there sweating like, please don't be any of these top 7 decks that just murder me. And then when I'll flip like the Birthday from Genesis or the Dragon Ninja from Murakuma, I'm like, you gotta be kidding. And the worst one is when they flip DI, right? And then someone has to tell me like if I fight Noda in Premium, he'll say, oh, I'm not running Daimonis. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, I can breathe now. I mean, of course, he'll pop up with Hope on Damp and a 1 grade 2 that makes you guard with 3 more cards, and I'm like, well, now you're just being a jerk in different ways. But I'm not gonna fall Noda for that because he's being creative with DI, which is most people won't even do because of the stigma that it has. But I would like it to where if I'm going to play Premium, I'm not going to be sitting there scared wondering, okay, it's going to be one of these broken decks I don't want to fight against. No, I don't, it's not like I hate Premium. I don't. It's just that the decks that are in Premium right now, like I'd rather deal with V Premium's 1 nonsense than Premium's 8.
Yeah, and that's completely fair. Like, and to some I still think there is a skill element to Premium. Otherwise WCC wouldn't have topped as much as they did. Yeah. Like that's just a fact, right? However, there are games in Premium right now that are just go first, hit stands, or go first, hit more triggers than your opponent, and that's not competitive. I don't care about losing or winning. That's why the main joke about my top 8 is I misplayed in top 8. I threw the game. I was also playing a degenerate deck. I was playing DI. I was playing full power DI. But the main joke of that is misplaying. I don't care, right? I just want this game to be competitive. And the current Premium, some decks can remove competitive aspects as well as overtriggers. That's why I dislike them both. Now, they're not going to get banned. They're not. The next ban list won't have overtriggers on. I can't say that with 100% certainty, but it's very likely because it's a new mechanic. However, I think we should still be vocal about them because that now again this stems in don't attack people and don't constantly say. Don't constantly go on Twitter and say, Overtrigger's bad, just got to locals, Overtrigger's bad, brushed my teeth this morning, Overtrigger's bad. Don't
just every day, just go to bed, Overtriggers are bad, wake up, Overtriggers are bad, just
don't
go to work, Overtriggers are bad, just
don't be like that. But once in a while, just so Bushy knows we haven't forgotten about overtriggers, maybe in that annual surveys, in the context where we can bring it up, that's when you bring it up in conversations like, what are your thoughts? What are your criticisms on a game? Bring overtriggers up there. Don't constantly be. Don't make it part of your life. Don't
Yeah,
make it your
so
work to to
yeah, so
complain
I
about it.
think so what we're basically asking the community to do is just civil discourse, you know.
Yeah, just
No,
be
no,
civil.
yeah, nothing to like. Don't start bullying or hating on, because that's what I see in so many card game communities. That's kind of why I left Yu-Gi-Oh, to be honest. But I just see so many in these communities, right? Like, and I've have got my fair share of flack too, because I'll have an opinion and I'll get flamed on because, oh, your opinion is trash. You like this thing is garbage. It's killing the game. And I'm like, it's kind of like the argument of, oh, Vanguard is all luck based. There's no skill. And then I hit him with, well, no, because if it was all luck based, and I'm pretty sure I'd be world champion twice over by now.
Yeah.
But but like
If well, if it's entirely luck, it's 100% luck based, then every tournament to a degree would be new players topping, right? There would be established players don't exist in 100% luck because it's random. It's a dice roll, and it's in Vanguard. It's very obvious WCC are holding a monopoly on tops, and so there shows there is some competitive element. There is a lot of knowledge in what decks what players do with their decks. Let's take current premium. Current premiums are Blade Master Valk, sure. Those are dice roll decks. I'd personally take Blade Master, but because it's significantly better. But let's take the fact that let's take Fenrir, DI, New Adaya, right? What with Awam, you saw a lot of the top decks just playing 6 or 7Ks, swing under, because because they can't get damaged. Take DI in the when building for that deck went through a lot of changes. Into now, which I think the best build is the Rufus Gastio deck. Some people still think MLK, which it's a bit, it's got a better rush feedback, but at the same time, if you're damage starved, it hurts you harder. So you still have to play these decks to a high level. You can't fuck up. If you fuck up, you lose. Premium is very unforgiving in that. Misplays will cost you the game most times. And then bring it back to Overtriggers. Overtriggers kind of stop you from losing to a misplay. If you, when playing a game, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to lose this game, I'm always thinking, if I hit the Overtrigger, I'm not going to lose. And while that's exciting, and while subjectively that's a really fun thing to do, that's not competitive. I made a mistake. I deserve the loss.
So I'd argue a little bit that I don't play premium as much as I would like to. Probably should actually. But even in V premium, where the Overtrigger doesn't exist, fair enough. But in V premium, if you fuck up in a V premium game, it hurts just as bad. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah. Like if you like, I play Aquaforce, right? Well, I play a fuck ton of decks actually, but I play Aquaforce, and it's one of my best and hottest decks right now that I've been playing with. I play with that, and the deck requires you to search your Maelstroms out. You ride your Maelstrom, and then you ride that cracked out Glory Maelstrom, right? And you say, okay, swing, take your damage, and die. If you don't die now, you'll die next turn. But with the Maelstrom deck, right? It's hard to get off on the first turn because I only run like 11 grade 1s, and that in itself is low for any deck. 11 grade 1s. So also I have to use my I have like 15 searches, but you have to use my searchers to search out on Maelstrom. So if I don't see my Maelstrom, then I'm just like, well, I guess I die now because I wasn't able to ride the Maelstrom in time, or I wasn't able to pull off the combo that I was supposed to pull off with Press Stream and Impaldia and whatnot, And I also say the same thing for Vanquisher. Vanquisher, to me, right, is by far the closest V Premium has to like a premium type of deck, because the amount of combo looping you have to do with Vanquisher is mind-boggling. It's gotten to the point with the deck that I've looped so much, I forget to attack with Vanguard, and I'm like, oh, swing Jaggy Shot, bind full Bronto. Oh wait, I haven't attacked with Vanguard yet. Shit. My fault. So in my opinion, right, in both V Premium and Premium, if you make any mistake, right, I think it hurts more in Premium because the decks are far more powerful. But in both situations, right, if you make a mistake, it's gonna hurt a lot in the long game, because that mistake could cost you what could have been your game. Yeah.
It goes back to in Vanguard. There's usually one turn that decides the game, even at the skill level. Usually that's just how a flow of the game dictates. But a lot of the times as well, it could be down to your opponent played slightly suboptimally. They We'll take the Overtrigger game with Mo and I can't remember his name, but he played DI. Mo was at 3 damage. So Mo was at 1 damage because Gatsby puts him at 1 card in hand. Puts 1 card from hand to damage. And opponent DI player swings 2 crits to Vanguard. It's unguardable, so Mo takes it, no triggers. And so now Mo's at 3 damage, and Vanguard is going to be swinging for 4 crits. However, this DI player, he's got 2 attacks. One's 2 crit, one's 4 crit. He decides to swing with the 2 crit first, because if Mo hits a heal trigger, Mo will survive. However, I would argue. So he swings with the 2 crit rearguard first, and Mo hits OT and kills his turn. Double heal. He needs. He's still at 6.
Man hits double here. Man hits double heal. Man, fuck heals, bro. Heals are worse than Overtriggers.
Fuck heals, man. Fuck heals. But he swings. He swings. Rearguard to Vanguard first, and Mo hits the defensive Overtrigger. So now he's at 4 damage and 100 million power. So now his Vanguard has to hit 100 hit Overtrigger for game, which he was out of, I think. Anyway, he didn't hit the Overtrigger, and he lost. I would argue that was a misplay, because that was slightly suboptimal, because you knew that a double heal wouldn't kill you. Double heal. Although Mo would survive, you still had another attack, which is still practically unguardable. Because you know for a fact Genesis plays a lot of low shield value cards, as well as the only situation where you do die is a heal and OT. However, in the rearguard case, you're dying to you're just dying to an OT. So I think that was slightly suboptimal. And sure, so in that case, I guess Overtriggers still promote that. But in more cases than not, they do they promote that I made a mistake but got rewarded. Got rewarded for it.
Yeah.
And that's my general. That's why I dislike them. I think if you make a mistake, you deserve the loss. And it's why I like Premium, and V Premium's gotten significantly better for it. There are some decks that are not like that, but there's argument case for Premium as well, and Overdress. But yeah. I think that's all.
I think it was W Slasher that made a poll on YouTube, and he's like, if you can get rid of one format, what would it be? And the format that won the poll was V Premium. So the V Premium still has its fans. People still I see people just not play any of the new stuff and just play strictly G format, and I think that's nice. Because honestly, right, the one thing that I saw that I found really, really, really weird, right, was I don't know if you noticed it, but in the middle to like end of G, people were getting tired of like striding and G guards, and it's just. And then they saw what Tama did and what Gears could do, and they saw Gize. They thought Gize was absolutely insane, and this is so dumb. So Bushiroad, right, rebooted the game to where now it's back to the old way of Vanguard, but now the cards are more powered up. And where Solid Vanguard made a video of building a $30 Royal Paladin deck, and you would do just fine in premium. And like I remember when they got the new triggers, like these 10K triggers, and where everyone was like, "Yo, this is gross," because now all these decks are just going to be absolutely insane. Now we've more acclimated to the 10K triggers because now it's everywhere. But I remember, right, people hated the reboot, and I'm sitting here thinking, well, you guys didn't like G either. Like, when G was ending, y'all were like, yes, something new, something fresh. I understand, right, with the mix of nostalgia and something new, right, you'll be more, you'll be, okay, it's standard, it's gonna be great, right? But as standard kept going on, people were like, I really miss G format. Well, why did you complain about it to begin with?
I actually, to counter that, I'd argue that the people that complained about G weren't the people that complained about V. I think it was two different camps. Usually the people that complained about V series were the distinguished players in G. Because G was easily more competitive than V. That's not an argument. Like when V was around, not an argument. And so, I do think that the people that complained, so the distinguished players in G were the people that complained about V, and the people that didn't like G's mechanics, which was fine. You can dislike a mechanic. Were the people that were the people that liked V and didn't complain about it. And didn't complain about it, and that's fine. That's fine. It's not a dig at anybody. It's just from my observations from the people that complained about V, that common trait. I've never seen. I've seen very few instances of the distinguished of the people that complained about. I've only seen a few instances of the people that loved G not complaining about V, and the people that hated G complain about V. It's usually two different camps of people, and I think that's where the community divide comes from. I think that's also a huge problem in this game. Format supremacy. Do you think?
I mean, it's not just format supremacy in our community. There's also format supremacy, clan supremacy. Like you and me, right? We're in a few servers. They shall not be named, but if one person builds your clan wrong, because I own the clan, right? I'm gonna dog on you if you don't build it right. That kind of nonsense.
Yes, that's also a thing. I think we called out recently in one server.
Yeah.
That's also very extremely toxic. But format supremacy has been a thing for, and it comes
since the dawn of time.
It comes on both sides. Premium players, the premium elitists are very fucking elitist. I'm not gonna name names, but we all know the 3 or 4 premium elitists that give premium bad name. But the amount of V players that will shit on premium for no reason is also something that is terrible, and that is something that we need to work on as a community as a whole, because that's you can't go around it. You can't do it. That's how you hurt both communities. That's how you stop V players from.
So I don't look at premium all that much, so I don't know who the premium elitists are. So you mind texting me, because I'm on my phone right now. I'll just look at my phone. It won't be on the podcast screen. So I just want to who these people are. Maybe it'll ring a bell, because I don't look at. I wish I did, honestly, look at premium a bit more. But and the thing is that it's no matter who you are, right? If you're being an elitist about a format and you're dogging and bullying people who don't play your format, you know what? Get a other hobby. I was gonna say get a hobby, but you're already playing Vanguard, which is counts as a hobby. So get another hobby, a different hobby, because Because like honestly, right? Yeah, sure. At sometimes, right? If I see someone playing the clan that I play and they're playing it a bit wrong, maybe I should be, um, maybe I should be more, maybe I should be nicer when I say, hey, maybe you should play this card instead. You know, maybe instead of playing Colossus, you can play Marjorie. That's kind of cool. I mean, you still play Colossus, but something like that. But when I see someone like saying, oh, you play V Premium, you're playing that trash format instead of playing the better premium, then fuck out of our community, bro. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say it nicely, right? Just fuck off. You know, the one thing I don't like, right? There's two types of people I don't like in our van community, right? Elitists and condescending bullies, or just condescending people in general. I don't need that in my life. You know, and if you want to act like that in a community of people who are just trying, because like there are so many people, right, who play Vanguard to get away from that nonsense, right? They don't need to, because I see people that come back from work, school, home issues, right, and they sit down and, you know what, I'm gonna play Vanguard and crack up a drink with the boys. You know, let's get our decks out, and maybe when a set drops, I see people, right. I'll tell you a story, right. Recently, set 2 just dropped, right? A Brush with Legends, and everyone at my shop, my LGS, right, was chomping at the bit to get their hands on it, right? Now, my boy Brian, right, Brian Borquez, you know, great guy, amazing Yasuo player. I've yet to see someone play the deck as good as he does, but he bought a case of the thing, right? I've never seen like people who just light up the minute he brought the case into the store. The store immediately came back to life. There are people, right, who play Vanguard, right, that just want to just have a good time. And if you're one of these people who are just being an elitist prick, right? Yeah, I'm gonna say that word on stream. If you're gonna be an elitist prick, right, and then just harp on being done, people playing the format that they want to play, that they like, right? Screw off, piss off. I don't care, right? If you wanna dog me in the comment, go ahead. I couldn't give a rat's ass, right? If you're gonna be a dick about people who are playing a different format than you because you think your format is the best format in Vanguard and everyone should be playing your format, then bullying someone is the way to get them into your format. Introduce it to them. Have them play a few games. If they don't like it, then they don't like it. You can't change everyone's mind. Fuck's sake.
You can, and you can prefer a format. Preferring formats is fine. Just don't. Yeah. Again, just be civil. Don't. Yeah. Like don't cause any issues because somebody likes a format that you don't like, and don't. I think the other thing, and this is kind of directed at the people that harp on premium, is whenever premium is mentioned, there's always going to be somebody that says, "Oh, premium's unplayable. Premium needs a ban list." And sure, premium does need a ban list. And sure, right, I wouldn't say it's unplayable, but it's unfun is subjective, but it could be seen as unenjoyable, right? That's fine. You don't need to bring up the issue, and bring this back to Overtriggers. You don't need to bring up the issue every time the thing that you have issues with is mentioned. You don't have to, it's not needed. You can you don't like the mechanic, and you've said your thing for the millionth time, walk away. Or unless obviously the situation asks for it, like, again, what are your faults with the Overtrigger? Then you take it. Or someone says, okay, if you were to improve Vanguard, what should you do? Blah blah blah. Sure, the situation is different, context is different. But
yeah,
in any other situation, what do you gain from it? What does anybody gain from it? Because I know what you lose from it. One, you're wasting your time because everybody knows these issues. It's said for the millionth time. So, two, any player that wants to try this either format or game is just going to constantly see Doomer talk, and they're not going to want to join the hobby. And none of us want that. Nobody wants this game to not have new players. We all want this game to grow. So just don't be a dick.
Yeah,
It's that
totally.
it's not that deep. Just don't be a dick, and you know, um, if that means stepping out for a bit, calling over your head, sure, do that. Or if that means, or better yet, have a play group that's go into VC with the boys and then vent in that. That's probably the best thing to do because you're releasing that in a healthy way. Um, just don't bring it to the online discourse where everyone can see it and everyone can see you make an ass of yourself. Which is what we're doing now, but I stopped caring because but no,
Yeah, but like
exercise.
honestly, it's
Ju-
just like
ju-
Noda said, right? Yeah. Now there's one thing that you said I want to touch on. I think after that, I think we've said our point more than enough, for them to get it. But there's one thing you said. You said that WCC has a monopoly on some of the top players. Now, for me, right, one of my close friends, right, we call him, most of his close circle call him Big Cam, right? He also, if you're hearing banging, sorry, they're renovating the house, like I said before in the beginning of the stream. My bad. They said, well, he got invited to join WCC, right? Like he said, you want to join our group, and he accepted. And I think WCC is like recruiting. I think they're like the real life version. If you guys watch the anime, as cringy as it sounds, like the real life version of Team Asteroid. Like they're just recruiting some of the top fighters in the world, and like let's just get together, the R dynasty. We get the Ryan Kai, the Derek Dow, we got Big Kim over here with the high tops. We got Kai over here with with the multiple tops. Like honestly, right?
Kai's washed up, bro.
Right. Honestly, right. If there was anyone, right, who I wanted to have a match with, there's two people, right. First, Derek Dow, because apparently I only knew about Derek Dow when the recent Springfest, but but he I saw what his long list of accolades and thing. But there's one other person, right, who I would want to match with, right, and that's Ryan Kai. I would love, and to be honest, right, he's halfway across the world. But with the power of internet and remote fight, I'm pretty sure maybe one day we'll have a one-on-one match where he beats my ass. But if I can have a match with Ryan Kai, right, and by some god, I mean, I'm not even gonna say miracle at this point, because if I don't know, I just think he's probably just a better player than me, because he's won like what 25 trillion in top like 15 trillion times. But if I can have like a match with him, right, and by some like miracle I beat him, right, put that in the bucket list. I've beaten, like, I'd be like, okay, yes, I now have his name in the list of people I've beaten. Or write him down real quick.
So there's that, but I do wanna. I don't really have that opinion. I wanna just do stress, like, there's that approach, but I think the issue there is that creates almost like a targeting system that helps perpetuate egos, right? Like, oh, I beat this renowned player, therefore I must be at this renowned level.
Yeah.
And and that's fine. That's fine, but I don't think that's healthy, right? And going back to an elitism point of view, once you start thinking, once you start saying, oh, I want to play these people to beat them, whatever, I beat them once, that's how people get egos, and that's not healthy. Genuinely speaking, in this sort of field, egos aren't very good. Some areas you need an ego.
Yeah.
But this is a hobby, right? This isn't a job.
Fair, but like to me, right, it's not really much of a, oh, I beat Ryan Kai, that means I beat someone who's gone around the globe and won. No, that's not the thing. To me, it's like, all right, so I'm not gonna. So this is kind of like, I'm not gonna expose my personal community where I have here in Texas, Because they're good dudes. You know, they're the reason why I play the game to begin with. I think they're really fun people. But, right, I'm not going to name any names. I'm just going to call them Community X, you know, Community X. But my Community X, right, when I first started playing Vanguard, right, this is before I knew anything about, oh, he's just joking or he's just kidding around, you know. I got the mentality from them saying, yo, you kind of suck at Vanguard, you know? Like, if I had $1 for every time I was called trash player, oh man, I'd probably be richer than Jeff Bezos. You know? Like, when I first started playing Vanguard, it was a rocky start because, I was, like, my first, like, experience playing Vanguard was at my high school. You know, we had this one guy, we'll call him Tommy. That's not his real name, but to protect the innocent, we'll call him Tommy, right? So Tommy, right, he was like your real life version of Season 1 Kai. You know, he was kind of cringe, but, you know, he knew his way around the deck, or so I thought back then. And his attitude wasn't terrible, but it wasn't, like, completely great. Like, he made it to where, like, yo, you're not gonna beat me no matter what you do, and that came off to me like, all right, well, I guess I'm just not good at this game. So if I beat you, that means I can finalize in myself that yeah, I am good at this game, and I eventually did. So with that mentality that I've had since I started playing Vanguard, right, I've had that mentality of, okay, if I beat this person, right, the person that everyone's gassing up, everyone's saying, oh, this guy is really good, that I can say within myself, yeah, I beat this man's ass. That means I am better than this person, thus meaning that I am good at this game. You know? So that's the one thing I don't want for anyone else to go through or experience, being like, yo, you just started playing this game for like 3 months and then all of a sudden you're called trash. You know, that's why people in our servers that I shall not name, right? That's why, like, I don't like it when people are like clowning on someone if they play a deck different, or if they're playing a deck, if they're playing the game wrong, something like that. You know, instead of hounding on them, you know, help them with their deck. You know, if I knew first started playing Vanguard that there were other clans like Link Joker or Great Nature or Neo Nectar or Angel Feather, if I knew these different clans like existed, because I knew they existed but I didn't know how they really play, I just saw it through the anime. If I knew how good they were back in the beginning of G, oh, I'd probably beat his ass, because like 4 or 5 years later, I asked one of my friends who was close to the guy who I, you know, was rivaling with. I asked him, hey, the guy who played that Legion deck with Narukami, was he any good? He's like, no. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, that deck was trash. He ran none of the break rides. His G zone wasn't even that good. Like, the deck was garbage. And I'm like, oh, huh. That means that win meant fuck all. You know? But
so
yeah, it's kind of like, it's not an ego thing, but it's to me like, yo, this guy named Ryan Kai, whoever's calling probably the best player in the world, you know, if I could have a match with him, I would love it. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Like, I think there's that, but then I'd like to like put it from their side. Obviously, I'm not. I think that's an unfair assessment on them. No, I'm not going to talk about the person that was addicted to you right there, because I wasn't there. Yeah. But that's quite an unfair assessment on like on players like Ryan Kai, right? Because if you're if you play them and you beat them, right? Sure, and because you can beat them, they're not unbeatable. Yeah. If you play them and you beat them, right? Or you're going, one of two things is going to happen, right? You're going to say, GG, good game, thanks. And you're going to blush about it after and VC with your friends. Or you're just going to start basing your entire personality around that. And that's kind of cringe.
Yeah, you know what? That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I'm going to be like, yo, I beat Ryan Kai and this guy, and I don't know if you know who Hank is, but man, it's a fantastic player. I think he went to Worlds and was a finalist, and I beat him, and I was like, yes, I beat Hank. Let's go. And like, I I beat most players at WCC. I tore that place down. You know what I'm saying? You can never call me trash again. But yeah, no, like I understand. It's no, honestly, right? It's no fault to Ryan Kai. You know, no fault to Derek Dow or any of those people, right? Me saying, yo, one day I want to play you, maybe in a regional, and get that double for you. That's none of their fault or business. Honestly, Ryan Kai could never even watch this show, and he can never even know who I am, because who fucking cares? You know, like, but it's like, how can I put it? It's like a goal, you know. A lot of people have like, yo, so a lot of competitive players' goals is to one day, right, be either regional or world champion. I think that's kind of fair, you know. If you one day just win a regional, that'd be great. And if you one day go to worlds and win the world title, awesome, you know. But for me, right, that's also my goal as well. That's why I play. I don't play nonstop. That's obviously not. But you know, I play, you know, enough. And that's the thing that really separates me from like a really, really competitive player and someone who's competitive is also kind of casual. Because competitive players, like I see people from WCC, they play like 40, 50, 100, 200, 300 games of just one deck. Just to get every little, data, and that's why I call them like the real life asteroid, because they're playing like 300, 400 games of this one deck to make sure to get every iota of data out of it, to make sure that they know every single play that you're going to make of that deck. And I'm like, one, I'm lazy, so I'm not gonna do that. And two, I'm lazy, I'm not gonna do that. You know? But I'm in the middle of like, I'm gonna play casual, right? But if I'm gonna go to a tournament, it's go time, you know? If I'm gonna go to a tournament, I'm aiming to win that tournament. My whole like focus is making sure I get the top 8, and then when I hit top 8, I'm gonna try my hardest to get to the top, you know? But if there's no like tourney going on, then I'm like, oh, okay, let me get my where my witches deck at? You know, where's my trial deck and Arcami deck just for the meme?
And yeah, well, it's really, because it's a game, like it's however you enjoy it, right?
Yeah, totally.
I think that's enough said, right? It's we kind of got derailed from Overtriggered Bad Smile to let's talk about WCT for a bit, because I do like teams. The aspect of teams for games are very important because it helps bring a competitive mindset together.
Yeah.
The more teams, the better. You know, the more, because it adds some much needed competition. You know, whether or not you find this game competitive or not, the more people that are in teams and trying to take tops for themselves will make this game competitive by participation, right?
Oh yeah.
I like that for a game. I think it's very important. Also creates on the side note, it does create. It could create a divide, but I don't really see it. I mean, WCC is a very nice community. If you're in their servers, incredibly nice, and at least from the people I've spoken to, it's not. They've and this goes for every team actually, not just WCC. SBTCG, WCC. What was the other one? There was another team. I can't remember what they stood for.
What squadron? No, I'm kidding.
But these people although they're a team, they've also been they've also been very open to the community telling new players, oh, here's where you can start, here's what you can do to get better, and that's also the added benefit. There's kind of defined areas for new players to go where they can learn, and that's a benefit of teams. So competitively speaking, teams are not just competitively, just for the health of the game. You create teams. It tells new players, oh, I can go to, if they've got a server. Obviously, if they don't have a server and it's not open to the public, it doesn't apply. Yeah.
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 I think I think that is we've gone on for about an hour now. I think that's the episode, but yeah, it's just like Noto said. I think honestly, I think teams were fantastic. You know, I like seeing. I like. There's one thing I liked a lot when WCC came to like remote fight. It was from the the Spring Fest happened. Remote fight. You know, anyone in our server that fought a WCC player was like, "Yo, it's like they fought a celebrity." Like, "Oh my god, I fought Derek Dow. It was so fun." And like, "Oh man, I fought this one from WCC. It was great." You know, and then it turned. And then when I saw it, I was like, "Huh." You know, it's kind of like the players from my server are like taking on players from their server, and if you take a win off them, it's like, yo, that's kind of cool, you know. So to me, I think teams, right, are fantastic. You know, it really feeds into that competitive competitive level of the game, which, you know, if you're a competitive player, you strive for that. But yeah, I think we boiled it down to don't be a dick, don't be a dick, don't be a dick. Fuck Overtriggers.
Yeah.
And don't be a dick. There we go.
Yeah. Like competition is good. You can like Overtriggers. Fuck, you don't even have to. You don't even want to address the problem. Like, I'm not here to convince you that Overtriggers are the worst thing in the game. I'm just trying to convince you that if, you know, when somebody says Overtriggers are inherently flawed, that's the point they're trying to make. Like, without going into art, people, although I don't like to bring this up at all, I've yet to see the distinguished players say Overtriggers are good competitively. Again, from an aesthetic point of view, from an entertainment point of view, sure, it's cool. Hell, even when Ty brought a very good point. Like, Overtriggers in locals, it's great, it's funny. You know, everyone has their whoa moment, you know. But that whoa moment sucks competitively. Like,
yeah.
losing in top cut because opponent hit Overtrigger, it does not feel good. It's terrible, or, you know, just losing it in a tournament game where there are stakes, it just doesn't feel.
Especially
it doesn't feel.
If there's money involved as well. Oh man.
Yeah, if there's money involved or if there's prizing. But yeah, I think that's enough said.
Also, he said a distinguished player hasn't said Overtriggers are great. Well, I count myself as a distinguished player, and I'm saying Overtriggers are fantastic. No, I'm kidding.
Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Who am I? My name is Local Hero Timmy. I have won my locals 7 times, going on to 8.
Who are you?
Oh, who are you? Well, like, I like how, like, they say that joke and they're like, okay, what'd you top at recently? My locals. I became champion. Oh, your locals are 17 people. Man, shut up. Fuck off.
No, look, I'm sure local. If you enjoy topping locals, that's fine. I'm not gonna discredit your success, and I'm not gonna gatekeep. I'm not gonna gatekeep you if you think, you know, you're amazing. But don't get an ego from that. Fuck, don't get an ego.
I am an 8-time local champion, and my word is gospel. No, I'm kidding. No. No.
Don't have an ego. Be like just be humble. Fuck, being humble is the biggest flex, because it shows you want to just play and you don't give a fuck. That's the biggest flex.
Honestly, I think the biggest flex is, like, let's say you win the world championship like the 3rd time, right? You get up, instead of like, yeah, I won, freaking just handshake your opponent, walk and go get some, I don't know what's there in Britain, go get some Nando's or something like that.
Yeah, it's like yeah, just flex by not flexing.
Yeah, man, just it's called the silent flex. You know, just look,
silent flex.
Pray God, just go on your merry way.
Yeah, like, be like, oh, cool, I won this. Like, move on. Like, again, if you and you can talk about it. There's a difference between there is a difference between bragging and and creating awareness around that sort that you've done well, or sort of celebrating. Sorry, that's a better way of saying it. There's a difference between bragging and celebrating, and it's the celebrating would be, woo, I topped, defining, showing the process that you took, and asking, and showing evidence of that. That's celebrating. Maybe posting your prizing on Vanguardians. That's not bragging. Bragging would be every day or at a constant basis saying, "Oh, I won this event. I'm better than you."
It's okay. So here's my question, right? If you go on Twitter and you put in your Twitter bio, 3-time world champion at me, is that bragging?
Don't at 3-time world champion. Don't at me. That's gonna be my new bio. But no, I think listing your successes is fine. If you've I'm not gonna name names, but there's a very distinguished player that has his tops in his bio, and I think that's cool.
Is it Ryan Kai and or Derek Dow?
No, it's neither of those.
Okay.
But very distinguished player, and I think that's cool. I do like that. What would constitute bragging in my eyes would be, let's say we're in a conversation, right, and I'm saying, okay, so why is card A better than card B?
Yeah.
Bragging would be, I